Welcome to Vision to Venture. I'm Eddie, and I'm here to uncover the realities of scaling and building a tech startup. Each week, I speak to leaders within the tech space with their insights and advice on how to found, fund, and frame a tech startup. So make sure to follow and subscribe to never miss an episode. Welcome back to another episode of Vision to Venture. Today I'm joined by Michael Jones, who is previously an investment consultant, then moving to launching 9 startups, and Michael is now the CTO at Love Holidays. Hey Michael, how are we?
I'm great, thanks. Nice to meet you. How's it going?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for coming down. Back to the studio. So I guess I just want to start with life before life at Love Holidays. So first of all, what kind of motivated your transition from obviously consultant to pursuing own entrepreneurial endeavors, I guess?
So, well, it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it short. So I was always interested in technology as a kid. I used to make my own computer games, from text-based adventures to kind of asteroids, clones, things like that. And I just I enjoyed building things. So becoming a consultant was great because you got exposed to a lot of different domains, a lot of different businesses, met a lot of different people, processes. But you didn't really get to earn anything. You didn't get to build the thing. I always had about 20 ideas about how to improve the thing that I was working on.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating. So I think at the point I kind of learned as much as I could from consultancy, and I tried to find a new job. And my friend George had got offered a job at a startup, and he took me along with him.
Okay.
And that's how we kind of ended up at this place called Traffic Broker, and the goal there was to try and come up with new ideas around the kind of affiliate marketing space. And over the kind of 12-month period, we kind of came up with 12 ideas, 9 of them failed, but a couple of spun out into businesses, and one was an arbitrage business, a traffic arbitrage, and another one was sold to Skimlink. So it was interesting times, learned a lot.
Yeah. And so obviously you launched those 9 startups. Were there any lessons that you learned from creating these 9 startups and sort of how each one shaped your sort of subsequent venture?
I learned a lot. I think it's very different coming from a consultancy where you're not really responsible for the impact of what you're doing to all of a sudden being responsible for you're building a business and it's your responsibility. So it makes you think about technology differently. You're not just doing technology for technology's sake. There's a reason for it. So you start to kind of cut out all of the kind of waste, you get rid of a lot of process. You start thinking about why you're doing technology, and I think it really helped me think about connect technology with business and making money, and that was really kind of influential through the kind of rest of my career about really connecting technology, business processes, and just creating successful businesses.
I mean, it sounds like a stressful story. There was a lot. You've literally gone through a whole whirlwind of a tech career.
It was really good fun. It was a kind of a very when was it? It was back when the affiliate marketing days, so it was about 20 years ago. Honestly, it was so much fun. It was stressful, but everybody was in the office till late, but we were doing it was exciting. We were trying to build things. We were kind of cutting edge of a lot of technology, so it was good fun.
Yeah. And obviously, so some of those startups that you built, the 9 startups, some of them were obviously unsuccessful, unfortunately.
Most of them, yeah.
So they didn't succeed, but how did you sort of maintain motivation and resilience to amidst multiple setbacks? And would you say that you have any sort of advice for anyone that might be in a similar situation or wanting to sort of go through what you went through?
Well, we were really focused on trying to find a business that worked. So when I came in, they had an idea about a comparison of mobile phones, and they built a website that was called Omio at the time. And they built this idea of bringing together, aggregating all the phone deals, creating a kind of cool interface, and they built a business off the back of it, and it was really working quite well. So it was taking that idea and kind of repeating it. And what we did was we were just searching for something else that would work in a similar space. So the kind of resilience we came from really failing fast, if I was honest. Making sure that it's a bit of a cliche, but we were really trying to find ways to test business ideas as quickly as possible. And
Yeah.
from each idea, like something went into the next one. So we had one idea about competition giveaways on the internet, which so each day we gave away a prize for £10, each week a prize for £100, and each month a prize for £1,000. It sounds mad, but what we tried to do was find interesting like things that people could buy, and then and do kind of affiliate marketing based off of those things. Didn't really work. Obviously, it wasn't the best idea, but what we ended up building off the back of that was a service that really kind of looked at all of the prices of all of the products on the internet and be able to kind of give you the best price of things. And it was that then went into the next idea, which was then how could we surface the cheapest prices, and that what we ended up building was a browser plugin. So when you were browsing the website, it detect what product you're looking at. It gave you the cheapest price on the internet for those things. So it was really interesting because it was just continually evolving. It wasn't just like one idea to the next idea.
So you just sort of plucked something from every single one to use.
Yeah, one learning to the next thing. It kind of span out from there.
Yeah, really cool. I guess you're like continuously learning from your mistakes, aren't you? And then just picking out the things that worked, the things that didn't, and then just putting those aside, and then taking those working
100%
parts.
Yeah. And it was not only the kind of the evolution of the business stuff, but also how you think about process and technology, and that was like, as I mentioned, that was really helpful. So it wasn't just like as I said, the business ideas, but it was trying to find ways of doing things even quicker next time, to failing a little bit faster, to kind of cut out this piece of technology, to just get to try and find was it going to work or not.
Yeah, and now present day, you're CTO of Love Holidays. It's a big change.
Well, that was I think when did I do that? Was probably about like 15 years ago when I kind of ended up doing this kind of startup stuff.
This episode is sponsored by DS Group. DS Group help connect machine learning and software engineering talent with groundbreaking opportunities in the field of AI. So whether you're a company searching for exceptional tech talent or an individual seeking that perfect role, DS Group is your go-to solution. Thanks to DS Group for sponsoring Vision to Venture. So obviously, you've gone from doing building these startups to then into this role as CTO at Love Holidays, and you've been there for a while now. Tell me a little bit more about your role there and how you've sort of shaped that company.
Yeah, so I think the interesting bit is to connect it to from that time until Love Holidays. So what happened after kind of building those businesses? A few were successful. We were making a lot of money. But they were all just based off a contract, so the businesses themselves weren't valuable. They were just generating a lot of profit. So with that money, we ended up buying the price comparison site Uswitch, which was sold kind of 3 years before we bought it for the same price as Liverpool Football Club. So it was like about 300 million quid. And we actually then ended up picking up for £5 million. So over the course of a couple of years, it kind of plummeted in value. And so we were able to pick it up quite cheaply. Okay. And so the kind of founder of this traffic broker put myself and my friend Paul into Uswitch and just said, so he bought it, put us in there and just said, go and fix it. So for the next 10 years, we spent a lot of our a lot of blood, sweat and tears scaling that business, and we took it from something that was worth 5 million. We sold it 3 times. The last was as part of ZPG, which was delisted for 2.2 billion. So it was a really interesting story. It went through kind of private ownership, private equity. It was a PLC, and then ended up being back at private equity with Silver Lake. So like fascinating kind of journey of how to scale a business. And so how I ended up at Love Holidays was going through that process of scaling a business was really interesting. But I've kind of got a mentor, and he always told me it doesn't count if you just scale one business. You have to do 2. So this is great. So I was looking out for the next one, and that's what Love Holidays was. It was the fastest growing business in the UK in 2019. It was number 1 of the Times profit track. And they needed some help in scaling that business. So explaining them to the kind of the journey that we took Uswitch on. They wanted to take Love Holidays on a similar journey. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 4.5 years, is scaling that business as well.
Stressful.
It is. Well, working with founders, and those sort of things is very stressful.
And so, obviously, I feel like everyone's going to know Love Holidays. How does tech play a role at Love Holidays? How does that sort of come about? That's the question.
Well, I think it's a business that's built on technology. So I think our CEO describes it as we're not a travel business that happens to use technology. We're actually a technology business that just happens to be in travel. So we think about ourselves as a technology business first, and that's because I suppose in some ways, like, the entire business model is underpinned by technology. We're a two-sided marketplace. We've got consumers who come to our website for deals. We integrate with over 30 to 35,000 hotels, 99% of flights out of the UK. We package those together. So everything there, from the traffic acquisition, from search all the way through to the pricing that we do and the post-booking experience, it's underpinned by technology. And I suppose as CTO, you're looking at the entire platform, but not only that, it's everything from that to the Wi-Fi, the computers people use, and those things.
Yeah. And so with tech being obviously one of the primary factors of Love Holidays, obviously there's always emerging tech. It's coming about and it's evolving and new things are coming about every single day. Do you think that these emerging tech and things that are coming about will have a significant impact on the travel industry over the coming years?
Definitely. I think technology, being able to kind of adapt and adopt your business model to the new technology, I think it's what's helped us win at Uswitch, and it's what's helping us win at Love Holidays. So keeping ahead of those trends, being able to kind of figure out what they are and integrate into the business, and I think underpinning that really is an architecture that's flexible enough to do that. And so when I turned up at Love Holidays, maybe in 2019, it was kind of a big monolithic system that was hard to scale, but we've spent a lot of effort over the 4.5 years really making it actually scalable and being able to integrate new technology. And we've done a pretty amazing job across the entire kind of value chain. So from traffic acquisition, we're using AI to be able to help us write landing pages and optimize for conversion. We're using machine learning for pricing. I think most exciting of all, we're using a lot of generative AI and chatbots to help us with the kind of customer service. So I was just talking to my friend Eugene, who's kind of spearheaded it all, and we send 4 million people on holiday each year, which is crazy. You can imagine the number of chats and the number of calls that we get. And 55% of those at the moment have been handled by AI when you chat to us, which is kind of cool. So it's not a press 1 for this or press 2 for that. It's a conversation with a. And interestingly, we've just launched in the last month kind of what would you call it, a voice bot, which is the opposite. You can actually have a conversation with an AI now. So you can call up Love Holidays, you've got a question, and you can interact with an AI, have a conversation with it, and it's quite fluid. To give you an example, what we were looking at the other day, an Irish gentleman called up and he wanted to get information on his luggage, had the allowance that he could have on the flight. So the AI said hello. It's called Sandy, our chatbot, which is kind of cool. Well, holidays, you see. Got his booking reference, looked up the details, was able to provide him the luggage allowance, what his flights were, asked him if he wanted to text with the details, said yes, sent him a text, all in this kind of like one conversation, and it really didn't get through to an agent, and it's really helping us kind of scale the business. So, as I said, 4 million passengers. There's a lot of contacts, and we want to give the best experience to customers we can.
Of course,
and so that's the AI is helping us like really deal with the kind of the low level, easy ones to allow humans to do the more complicated things.
Yeah. And how long did it sort of take to sort of train Sandy and get it to a point where it can have those sort of fluid conversations with customers when they call up?
This one we've really just kicked off over the last kind of month or two.
Okay.
So at the moment, there's some really cool things you can do with it. You can actually take people's voices and it can actually speak in your voice. So,
oh wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. So you can like have somebody in the organisation who you want to be like the voice of your customer service, and you can use their voice. But we're just using kind of the basic stuff at the moment, and it's still a bit clunky. It's a bit slow. Yeah. But even with that, like we've got in a couple of months about anywhere between 7 and 13% of all kind of voice interactions we can handle through kind of an AI now.
But it's just going to get better.
Yeah, and we've just started. We've got
exactly.
On the chat side, it's 55% of all contacts come through. We can handle with AI. So we partnered with Google on this, and we did a bit of just a look at the impact. It does the work of about 120 agents, and it saves us about £3 million a year in terms of cost for the contact center. So it's a pretty amazing.
But I mean, I'm assuming there's obviously still quite a few people in the contact center, obviously still dealing with queries and stuff.
Yeah.
Is the plan sort of to eventually just sort of minimize that, have the AI sort of take over on that front to have more money in the areas of obviously the technology side of things?
Well, no, I think if you look at holidays, we kind of survey our customers, and the third most important thing that they care about is the previous experience they've had with the holiday provider.
Yeah.
So the kind of customer service is really, really important for us. It's the third KPC, they call it key purchasing criteria. So we want to have we've set ourselves a goal of winning an award for our kind of post-booking experience. And what we're doing with kind of the AI and chat is just basically dealing with the easy kind of automatable things, so we can get through a lot of the volume to be able to use, as I said, our people to solve the more complex cases. Because, as I said, 4 million people going on holiday, there's a lot of demand you have to deal with, thousands and thousands of calls a day, thousands of chats you have to get through. Yeah. So this is just giving us the ability to kind of do that much more efficiently and be able to kind of give customers the best experience possible.
So when scaling technology operations, how do you sort of maintain the balance between scaling existing systems for efficiency and fostering innovation within the tech teams?
It's going to be a hard question, a long question to answer. But I think for me, one of the things we learned, the kind of principles about when we scaled USwitch, was about how you set up teams.
Okay.
And so instead of setting teams around projects, we set them around problems. So we give teams open-ended business problems to solve that are long-lived, and we create then cross-functional teams around those that can own that problem and its implementation. So there doesn't need anything else from the rest of the organisation to solve it. You've got everything you need, and that can be, say, if it's a part of the website, it would be analysts, designers, product people, engineers, whatever you need. You've got a team of people to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And so what that allows is teams to do a couple of things, especially when you're scaling a business. They can ensure that the systems that they're responsible for are kind of maintained. So kind of the BAU is actually just, the system actually still works. They can do the second thing as well within those teams. They can take those systems and they can make them better, so they can improve their kind of KPIs locally, which is really important because as you build startups, there's a lot of inefficiency in those systems, and there's a lot of benefit from actually just tightening up all of the kind of the loose ends that you've built along the way, and those improvements compound, and you can create a lot more profitability in a business by just improving those. So it's kind of two levels to it. And then the third thing we ask those teams to do then is we provide an overarching strategy for the business, and we ask them to adapt their systems towards that strategy.
Okay. This is actually a question from an audience, or from a listener. And it's obviously, after speaking to for the past however many minutes, it actually sort of ties in, because it seems like you have obviously had a lot of success scaling the company and scaling the teams, and it is around scaling teams, and it's to do with what strategies you use when scaling the teams. Are there any specific strategies that sort of come to mind?
Yeah, so that idea of creating teams around problems, that's at the heart of really how we scale. So what we end up doing is we only create teams that have the right number of people to actually service those problems. And so when you want to scale or add more people to the organization, you take those problems and you separate them out, and you create smaller problems and you create teams around those. So to give you an example, we've got our kind of supply capabilities, and what our supply systems need to do is to aggregate a view of the market. As I said, we've got 99% of flights, we've got 35,000 hotels, and we've got a lot of ancillaries. And so when we started, we have a single supply team that looked after all of those three areas. But as we got bigger, as we scaled, we took that team and we broke it apart into two teams now. We have one for flights, one for hotels, and we'll add another for ancillaries, and another for data. And we'll take the overall problem and break it apart into smaller and smaller pieces. but we're kind of retaining those kind of principles about giving people longer-lived business problems to solve.
And so, obviously, there's many competitors, unfortunately so for you. But what are there any sort of specific ways that you feel that you sort of are working ahead of these competitors, and ways that you can like sort of stand out from them?
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at the atoll numbers, before we went into COVID, we were probably like the fourth biggest holiday provider in the UK, behind on the beach. But coming out of COVID, we've kind of left them behind. Kind of atoll numbers, we're about 1 million ahead of them now.
Oh, wow.
And we're catching up with the likes of TUI and Jet2, and we're kind
Yeah.
of hot on their heels, and they're kind of they're well in our sights, and we're kind of trying to catch them up. I think the biggest thing we're trying to do, we're trying to catch them up with, is their kind of post-booking experience. But the thing that's really allowed us to kind of scale and accelerate and grow so quickly is just the investment we've made in our technology systems, and our ability to really scale the concepts that the founders kind of came up with. So Love Holidays is an online travel agent. It was founded on this kind of idea of a what, not where search, which is this concept where you can describe the type of holiday you want, not where you want it to go. So you can say, I want to go somewhere that's 5 hours away, that's at this temperature, that gives you this kind of and we'll search over 1 trillion different package holidays, and we'll find you the things that kind of match your needs. And so it's that thing that we've kind of built, which is still quite unique in the market. We've not only kind of scaled that, it's now super fast. It returns like across that search base in about 150 milliseconds. So it's more akin to like a Google or an Amazon experience than your traditional OTA. And that's really kind of separated us out. We've got this super like amazing search system that's blazingly fast, that you can find that kind of perfect holiday very quickly, that other people really can't compete with. Our OTA competition aren't as quick, and they just don't have that technical capability. Whereas we've got our eyes on the kind of the other competition, which are more tour operators, they don't have the volume, but they have they're kind of vertically integrated, so they own the flights, the hotels.
Okay,
they
right.
offer a much better end-to-end experience, and that's what we're using technology to solve that as well. So we've kind of smashed it on the kind of choice, on the kind of the value aspect of it, and now we're just focusing on post-booking customer experience.
Yeah, and I guess it all comes from growing as well, doesn't it? And it all takes time, and like you'll get there eventually.
We definitely will.
And so you've obviously you've been through it all. You've obviously had the startup life, the startup culture, and then you've obviously gone into this other company as a CTO, obviously at a very high level. And I guess the question is there any sort of, do you have any regrets from obviously leaving behind the startup life and going into Love Holidays as CTO, or is it like, what are there sort of pros and cons to both, and which do you prefer now that you've done both? Because there's so many people out there that want to go into the startup life, but then it's like, or do they just work their way up into a CTO position?
It's a really good question, but quite difficult to answer. I think there's some of the best times that I've had were either in kind of startup businesses, or helping scale businesses, but they don't last, because what you want is success, right?
I mean, an exit.
Yeah, you want to be able to actually take those businesses and grow them.
Yeah.
And so whilst it's a really kind of fun time when it's a small group of people, you're into the office late, maybe I remember sleeping in a tuxedo on a on a beanbag. Those sort of kind of crazy things that you do as a startup, like awesome times, but then you've got almost the privilege of taking a startup and making it successful, and scale it out, and that becomes a really interesting an interesting problem, and you kind of learn a lot from that. So I think each phase is kind of different, and I think there's almost something really nice about being with a business or an idea from a startup all the way to something that's the kind of PLC, like FTSE 250 we were as part of as Uswitch, and seeing the entire kind of end-to-end journey, and where you fit. And I think, to be honest, where I fit has changed over time, and I think whilst I kind of hark back to the kind of crazy startup days, and the kind of wacky things we did, like Christmas parties in Vegas and that sort of stuff, I think it's like I'm really enjoying working at Love Holidays and being able to kind of like professionalize and scale like a big business. It's quite an impact that you can have.
And it's obviously, when you came in, it was obviously already at a position in the company lifespan where it was doing well, but now you can just take it to another level and I guess watch it grow, and I guess it's still giving you that satisfaction that you're going to get from having a successful startup. You're still successful. Yep. So I guess you're still getting that satisfaction and that drive and that motivation that any startup owner is going to get from obviously running a successful startup as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what I learned is that I'm very good at making things better. I'm very good at coming up with a kind of initial idea. So if you write an essay, I think I could make that essay better. So I find it hard to kind of come up with those original ideas. So what I've found where I fit is like somebody who's got the idea, who's made it work, who can really, who needs to they've got the business model. All they need to do is scale it.
Yeah,
I know that's where my kind of sweet spot is. I can understand what they've done, connect to the kind of the business value they're creating, and I can create a technology organization that helps you scale and that business.
And whilst being at Love Holidays, how would you say your leadership style has adapted for the entire time that you've sort of been there and grown the team?
That's another really good question. So the leadership style thing, I suppose, what's really been driving me for the majority of my career was that kind of what I really wanted to do was be able to kind of own problems and to be able to kind of have an impact and own the impact. And what I learned within consultancy was that you can't get that from consultancy. But coming into Traffic Broker and working with the people there, a guy called Neil Hutchinson and Carl Gaywood, they gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of ownership to be able to do that. And what's really been driving me is giving that same thing to other people as well. Yeah. So giving them the kind of ownership of problems to see the impact that they could have. Kind of got a mentor, and he kind of calls it like leaving a footprint. So the idea that you can do something and just point back at it and say, that's the thing that I did. Like I made that, whatever it was, from a website to a culture or a company, but that you can really kind of see the impact that you have. And the thing that's been, I think, driving me is increasing, just giving more and more people the opportunity to have an impact. Yeah. And what we've done at Love Holidays is we've done that in many different directions. We've done it as from the team structure, giving people problems. You can see just they approach it differently, and we do some really interesting things from that. And it's not me doing those things. It's you're empowering other people to do amazing things. So my friend David, he did a world first with A/B testing. So he kind of is an expert in performant websites. And when he came into Love Holidays, it's already an expert. But he was having that ownership. He was able to take our website from what was essentially the slowest website in travel, move it to the fastest website in travel, and then do a world first in A/B testing. So we were using Computer Edge with Fastly to be able to kind of do A/B test assignments on cached pages, which we were able to do it in sub 1 millisecond assignments. I mean, I don't want to go into the details, but it's super interesting when you can set people up to do cool things. And I think that's what's really how it's evolved. Is it's less and less about me, but just more and more about empowering people to do cool stuff.
Yeah, and I guess since you've been there, obviously you have scaled it and you've built these teams, and obviously now you're at a place where it is running smoothly, and you've done what you wanted to do, haven't you? Is there a lot more in your line to go?
Yeah, so I categorize it in almost now 3 stages of businesses that I'm seeing, which is that kind of startup phase where what you're really focusing on is finding a business idea.
Yeah.
Then there's a second phase, which is taking that idea and scaling it up. So then you're making it work at scale, and that's across more people in the organization, more people on the platform, making the platform work as well. So we've done that, and that's helped us kind of grow rapidly. But we need to continue to grow, and the way that we're doing that next is repeating what we've done in short-haul beach holidays in the UK in more markets, for more products in more points of sale. So we're expanding out. We've expanded into Ireland, and we're the biggest holiday provider in Ireland. We've just launched in Germany, and then we've got a plan to just take what we've done and repeat it all the way across Europe.
And just to sort of kind of wrap up, You've been through a lot. I can already tell that you've done a lot in your life.
All the grey hairs and lines on my face. So thanks.
It's fine. It suits you. But there's obviously a lot of people that sort of, a lot of our listeners are, as I sort of mentioned, either aspiring entrepreneurs or people that do want to sort of take that leap and go into the startup world, or there's people that want to sort of get into a company and work their way up into a CTO position, or basically just do exactly what you have done. So would you say that there's any sort of like standout advice that you could give these people, or any sort of aspects and moments that have happened within your career that have sort of helped you to get to where you are now?
I mean, there's quite a few, but I think the biggest influence, there's two things that I would say that have really influenced my career. One was leaving consultancy and taking the kind of plunge there. It was quite a risk, joining kind of a startup from a large American consultancy, but doing that just like at an age where I could just go in like both feet, just jump in and give it a go. I think that was really important. So like taking risks, I think is key. But the other thing that's been like more beneficial, that's helped immeasurably, is getting a mentor. So having somebody who's been through that process, who's N years ahead of you, who can like just nudge you back on the path. It's been like really helpful for me, where I as you're growing these startups or you're scaling these businesses, it feels like you're the only person who's ever experienced this. But talking to somebody who's done it before, he was able to say, no, here's like 5 examples in like 7 other businesses of these different people who've had the same problem, and that you can solve it in these ways. And it was really helpful in not only in those ways, and just in many different ways, to be able to have somebody to talk to about those kind of issues and challenges as you growing professionally, as the business is growing as well. So getting a mentor would be like number one.
Just having that person in your corner that you can always go to, isn't it?
100%. Like that. Honestly, one of the things that meant a lot to me was when I got at USwitch. At the end of that, I was brought into a room after 10 years and just told that to get my stuff, and I was leaving the building. So that was kind of like quite a shock to me at the time. It really helped. It was. Looking back, it was a pivotal moment that really kind of, I should have done it a long time ago, but it was really helpful. But in that, he just kind of came, I can't remember where I was in Europe. Next day, he flew back, had a chat with me, helped like set me back on the path, and got me set up to do the next thing. So it was like really helpful.
And here you are, CTO of Love Holidays. Well, it's been immensely interesting learning about your life and your story and your career. So I really, really appreciate it. And it's been, really interesting to find out everything about Love Holidays. I think I need to get on there because I feel like I need to book myself a holiday. After you've mentioned Sandy, I'm like, oh, Sandy, I could do with some sun and some sand and just a holiday. So I might have to have a look.
Well, you'll get some good prices.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's what it's there for. But thank you so much for joining us on Vision to Venture. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And I wish you the best of luck with continuing to grow and scale Love Holidays, and just get to be in TUI and Jet2 and booking. Well, you probably already booked big in half of them.
Well, one day maybe.
But you'll be the top there soon. But it's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming down and joining us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Vision to Venture. If you're listening, make sure to give us a 5-star review. And if you're watching, like and subscribe to listen to more inspiring stories from leaders in the tech space.